Blessings, everyone. Happy Womb Wednesday. My name is Ramona Riley, aka the Vagina Lady. And thank you guys for coming on to the live. Of course, you know we're here every Wednesday talking about all kinds of goodness, from hormones to sex to birthing, all of it. Of course, usually as we start, I would like to pray, and then we're gonna get into it. This week, or this month I should say, is endometriosis month. Endo, that's why my fingers are yellow. And of course, this is definitely a disease that a lot of women are suffering from, and we're not really talking about it. So this month we're definitely going to be talking about endometriosis and different ways in how to deal, cope, and that type of thing. So let's pray first, and then we're going to get into it. Dear God, myself and all the people on the live, or the people that will be watching the live later on, we just want to thank you. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for bestowed upon us on a daily. We ask you to just continue to not just bless us, but bring healing to our lives. If it's our minds, our bodies, our spirits that need healing, cleansing, renewing, awakening, balancing, we ask you to do that for us. Put us in an environment, surround us around people that allow us to do that. Amen. All right. Okay. So again, as I said, thanks so much for tuning in, guys. You guys that are following Cosmic Woman on Instagram, feel free to also follow the Vagina Lady. As active on the Vagina Lady page, but that's going to change, or we're in the process of changing it. So it's a really great place also to get some information. So definitely follow that. So as I was telling you before, endometriosis, it's endometriosis month, which is March. And of course, I'm usually extremely busy during March. May it be that I am in the States and I fly down to Jamaica for it, or now that I'm here, living here, still really busy. Endometriosis is one of those diseases that slowly but surely people are talking about. Awareness is being built, and I'm really happy that is happening, because a lot of women for years, decades, have been suffering with this disease, not even knowing, not even realizing that they have a disease or they have a condition. A lot of times they think it is literally just painful periods. And as we know, endometriosis is more than just painful periods. So what is endometriosis? Where does it come from? Who gets it? Why do you get it? All these different things we're going to talk about tonight. So the first thing is really, what is endo? Endometriosis is a condition that really focuses around the lining of the uterus. So because of course the lining of the uterus is too thin, there's too much scar tissue, too thick, whatever the case is, it causes a lot of cramping during a period. Probably a few weeks before the period, during the period, and a few weeks or days after the period. The issue with endo, not only is it that it creates all of this extreme cramping and pain in the abdominal area, but because it creates all of this scar tissue, it has a tendency to connect the uterus with other organs in the body. And of course, it's other reproductive organs or digestive areas. So you might find a woman that has endometriosis, her uterus is probably connected to any part of her digestive system. If it's the intestines, the colon, if it's in the reproductive system, it's probably connected to the tubes and so on. So when this scar tissue connects to all these different organs, you find that there is so much more pain. So we're not just now having cramping pain, but now we're having pain in our bowels, in the there's also a lot of pain in the, for some women, it's hard for them to even walk. I have some endo clients that came to me that they will take off all their clothes and lie down on the cold floor because of the pain. And for some women, cold helps. For some women, heat helps. And usually heat helps more for some women, but every woman is different. So it would just really depend on what makes you feel better. So where does endo really come from? It's a hormonal issue. That's kind of really where it stems from. And what hormone is excessive? Estrogen. Any woman that's going to suffer from endometriosis is going to have a large amount of estrogen in her body. And because of this large amount of estrogen, it is causing all of this scar tissue. It is not allowing the uterus to just be. So the uterus is swollen, it's inflamed, and for some women it's connected to all these different organs as well. So there is a lot of pain and discomfort. There is not one endometriosis client that I have, or a woman that I've met with endometriosis, that emotionally and mentally is not also affected by endo. Because to walk around every day with a period or without a period and have these types of feelings, have these types of symptoms, it's hard to function on a daily basis. It's hard to get up every day and go to work and be the best version of yourself. Go to work, do the best that you can do, be the best mom that you can be, have the best sex that you can have with your significant other. It's extremely, extremely hard to function. And so they go into themselves. They emotionally go into themselves. They mentally remove themselves from their friends, their loved ones, because they literally are just trying to cope and trying to get through the day. So any woman that suffers from endo, I call them a survivor because it is rough. I had adenomyosis, which is pretty close to endo. It's not outside of the uterus, but it's inside of the uterus. And I know that that pain was ridiculous. Much less to think about now, not only is the uterus an issue, but now it's connected to all these different organs and all these different organs in the body, and not just staying in one system but going into other systems. So it's not just in the reproductive system, it's also going in the digestive system, and then from there it continues. There are women that it even gets to their respiratory system. And so it's important for us to make sure that if we are having painful periods, if we are having uncomfortable periods to the point where medication isn't helping, and in general, as we all know, our period should not be painful, okay? But if you are having these excruciating pains, then I would definitely say to you, maybe you should look at all the other symptoms of endo to see if you suffer from those too. If it's the pain in the leg, if it's the funny pain in the anus, because sometimes it's literally the anus that hurts, on top of the cramping, on top of when you're ovulating, there's also a lot of cramping. So when you have a child who is 15, 16, 17, and she's complaining about these painful periods, I know back in the day, even now, but even more back in the day, it was always just, oh, she has painful periods, let's put her on some birth control, she has painful periods. But if your daughter is really suffering and she can't go to school and, you know, she can't function, and maybe we should look into that, because it shouldn't be like that. Period shouldn't be like that. And if she suffers from endo, it is not just regular period pains. It is like she would prefer to jump off a cliff and die than to have to deal with this. I know a lot of women with endo, when they know the period is going to come, they start crying before the period comes. They become depressed. They pull themselves away from everyone because they can't manage. They don't know what to do. They've been dealing with this forever, and the fear now builds up because they know what is going to happen a few days or a few weeks from now. So with endo being an estrogen driven issue, of course, one of the main things we have to do is lower the estrogen. We have to make sure that the estrogen level is not as high. We have to try to balance out the hormones as much as we can so that the estrogen level can come down. The more the estrogen level comes down, is the better she's going to feel, the less symptoms that she's going to have. Endo is not necessarily something that I would say, okay, you can get rid of endo and you will never have it again and it will never come back, because of course it's a hormonal issue. So if your hormones don't stay balanced, it definitely will come back again at some point. So as an endo sufferer, as someone who suffers from fibroids, cysts, any of these types of things, constant maintenance is extremely important to make sure that this disease or condition does not come back. Endo also has a way where, you know, it affects your sex life. It affects your fertility or chances for fertility. And those are things that we are going to get into each week. Okay, of course you guys will see that we're going to be posting things to let you know what exactly about endo we're going to be talking about, but those are things that we're definitely going to tackle. We're going to get into movement and the best things and the best ways and positions to put yourself in when you are suffering from endometriosis. These things can help with any kind of period pains in terms of cramping and that type of thing. But of course with endo, it's going to help even more because these women are suffering ridiculously. So when it comes down to balancing the hormones, there are a lot of different things that we can do. There are things that we can swallow. There are things that we can rub on our bodies. There are things that we can use as diffusers in the air, as aromatherapy. And there are also different types of physical treatments and massages that we can do to make sure that the endo symptoms are less. So I want to get a little bit into those types of things. One of the things that is great for endo is castor oil treatments. Now you hear me talk about castor oil treatments a lot if you follow me or if you watch these lives. Castor oil treatments are great for many different types of things. Many things. We're talking about endo, of course, fibroids, cysts, scar tissue, which is why it helps with endo. Detoxing the reproductive system, detoxing the digestive system, detoxing the lymphatic system, creating healthy circulation. And it's good for fertility as well. So doing a castor oil treatment will really help to soften the scar tissue. The thicker the scar tissue is the more pain you're going to be in. The thinner or the softer it is the less pain that you will be in. So doing a castor oil treatment twice a week, 3 times a week, 4 times a week, every other day, whatever it is definitely one of, I would say, one of the main things you want to do. And it's easy, it's cheap, it's not expensive at all. So I definitely recommend anyone who suffers from endometriosis to do a castor oil treatment. With the castor oil treatment, it cannot be black Jamaican castor oil, okay? Put that in your hair. It is not for your skin, and it is not for this particular treatment. You would definitely want cold-pressed, organic, virgin castor oil that you would rub on your abdomen. You would use a special cloth, which is a cotton flannel, which is not dyed, and you would put that over your abdomen, and then you would use a heating pad or a hot water bottle and put that on top, and you would lie there for about an hour. You can go over the hour, you can fall asleep with it, just as long as it's not too hot to where it could maybe burn the skin. Most times that doesn't happen because you have the cloth between the heating pad and the oil and your abdomen, but some women are, you know, their skin is a little bit more sensitive. So just be aware of that. I do not suggest necessarily doing castor oil treatments while you're on your period. I don't suggest that. May it be endo or not. Allow your period to just be. You can still use a heating pad. I would not use castor oil. What I would use is, we have an oil called hormonal oil blend. Hormonal oil blend. Okay. And of course, this helps to balance the hormones. So of course, as I was telling you before, it being an estrogen issue, of course, we want to balance out the hormones. So you can rub the hormonal oil blend on your abdomen and then put on your heating pad and use that to help with not just the cramps and the uncomfortableness, but also it's going to help to balance the hormones. So it's a really great option. I also suggest rubbing the hormonal oil on your ankles and the bottom of your feet. And when I say the bottom of your feet, I mean the entire bottom of the foot, from underneath the toes coming all the way around to the heel. Okay, really, really important. There are a lot of reflex points, uterus, certain glands, ovaries, a lot of different reflex points that are on the foot. So I just suggest rubbing it all over the foot, maybe twice a day. Okay, if you are someone that does manicures or pedicures, I suggest putting a few drops in the water when you're going to soak your hands and feet. It's an easy way to get your hormones balanced without the stress. So that's definitely an option. Another thing that's great is physical massage. No, I'm not saying that you have to go and get a masseuse to give you a massage every week or every 2 weeks, but you can do self-massage. You can literally lie down on your back, use a little hormonal oil, use coconut oil, use olive oil, use whichever kind of healthy oil that you can use, and rub on your abdomen. You want to really concentrate on like the pelvis area, anywhere from the belly button down and around the pelvis. The pelvis is huge, because a lot of times the reasons why we're having a lot of pain as well is because the circulation in that area is not running nice, and it's just not flowing the way it should. So we want to make sure that we are allowing it to flow, allowing it to make sure that there's not blockage. There's no blockage there. The more blockage you have, the more pain you're going to have. So take your hands, go on your pelvis, all along your pelvis. I would suggest circular motions along the pelvis, even towards the side, in the front, up, all over, just really showing love. You don't need to press hard. It's really a gentle massage, just rubbing, okay? Just rubbing. And I suggest doing this every morning and every night. If you take baths while you're lying in your bath, you can do that as well, okay? Just really show the area some love. The more you show the area love, almost sat and fell on my ass. The more you show the area love is the more that the area is going to react in a positive way, okay? If someone shows you love, you automatically show it or show them love, okay? It's the same thing. So self-massage is really great. Don't leave out the breast either, okay? A lot of times there is breast pain or breast sensitivity, or there's some uncomfortableness in the breast if you suffer from endo. So feel free to massage your breasts also. Grab them up, hold them, Show them love as well. Every morning, every night will be great. You realize how much different your periods are and how you feel just from doing that. So castor oil treatments, self-massage, really great to help. Now, sometimes the reason why we have hormonal issues is because we have a lot of deficiencies, right? There are a lot of deficiencies. So we're talking our iron is a little lower than it needs to be. Magnesium is low. All these other things are really low. So the body can't produce the hormones, release the hormones the way that they should. So you really want to look into getting a really, really good plant-based female vitamin. It's really important. No one a day and Centrum and all these things. Those things, your body is not really absorbing them the way they should. So having a female vitamin, plant-based of course, or food-based without the animal food base, but a natural food base, will probably be your best bet. You can also do a prenatal as well, but of course, again, make sure the prenatal is plant-based or food-based. Of course, Cosmic Woman has both if you guys are interested. If you don't want to go and source and seek to find one that works, we definitely have that as well. So balancing the hormones is important for us to get enough minerals and enough vitamins in our bodies so that our hormones can become more balanced. Magnesium in itself, not just the deficiency of magnesium, but magnesium in itself, the mineral, is very good for hormonal balance. For endo, yes, it helps with the pain as well, but it's also great for things like menopause, because of course that again is a hormonal thing. So I suggest doing a healthy, I would say a healthy magnesium. Magnesium is great. You can take it once a day. You can throw it in your smoothie if you want to. You can just pill. There is a herb called Irish moss, and I'm not sure how many of you know about Irish moss. About it. Countries maybe not as much, but Irish moss has a lot of magnesium in it, so it's a really great way to get it in your body also, if you're not one of those people that like to pop pills or you don't have time to necessarily make a smoothie. You can get the Irish moss in a powdered form. You can get the actual moss itself that you would boil and then, you know, strain off, and it becomes like this gel-like substance. So whatever really works for you, whatever fits in your daily routine. For me, every morning, I don't suffer from endo, but every morning I use Irish moss as my base for my smoothies. So I'll do half Irish moss and half coconut water for my base, and then of course throw in my fruits and my this and my that, blend it up, drink it type of situation. So whichever way it is that you want to be able to get magnesium, a healthy version of magnesium, please, I advise you to do so in whatever way that is. Now, as I was telling you before, scar tissue is a huge issue when it comes to endometriosis. That's really what creates the majority of the issue, the scar tissue. So, what's going on? So you want to make sure that the scar tissue is softened and that we remove the scar tissue. And how do we do that? Amazing, amazing, amazing route. Okay, it's cheap, it's easily accessible, and it heals your entire body. Okay, no matter what condition you have, I am sure ginger is going to help it. But I can say 100% that if you suffer from endometriosis, ginger needs to be your friend. You boil it, you cook it, you eat it, you're making some chicken, you chop up some ginger, you throw it in there. Ginger is your friend. Ginger softens the scar tissue. And the softer the scar tissue is the less pain that you will be in. Once we've softened it with the ginger, with the castor oil treatment, we then want to remove it. How do we remove it? There is a supplement called serapeptase. Serapeptase is amazing for removing scar tissue. Not only scar tissue, but plaque. So if you were to suffer from like blocked tubes, serapeptase would be great for you, because whatever your tubes would be blocked with, if it's plaque, if it's mucus, if it's scar tissue, if it's whatever, it literally removes it. If you have a heart condition, if one of your arteries are blocked, serapeptase is for you. So it really helps to remove the scar tissue or remove whatever it is. So it's really, 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 really important, okay, for you to be on serapeptase. Serapeptase, you'd pop, it comes in a capsule form. You'd pop 1 capsule a day, and that should be enough. For some women, they might need to do 2, but I definitely recommend 1 unless it is that your endometriosis is stage 3 or higher. Okay, and of course we want to make sure that your digestive system is healthy enough so that it's not creating an issue or it's not too strong. So softening the scar tissue, then removing to help with endo. So if we are cleansing our bodies, because of course we have to cleanse, and balancing our hormones and softening the scar tissue and removing the scar tissue, by the time you're done, you don't even feel like you have endo. Endo what? You're not suffering from endo. It's not hard for you to get pregnant because of endo. Sex is not so painful because of the endo. So just those things really, really, really help with any woman suffering from endometriosis. If it is that you are suffering from endometriosis, we want to make sure that number 1, we are cleansing. Number 2, we are balancing the hormones to make sure that the estrogen level comes down. We also want to make sure that we are softening the scar tissue, because most times there's a lot of scar tissue. When they go in for a laparoscopy, which is what they do to see if you have endo, that's usually how they diagnose that you have endo. They go in and they see. They remove all of that scar tissue, or as much as they can, because the scar tissue is really what causes a lot of the pain and a lot of the discomfort. So cleansing, balancing the hormones, softening the scar tissue, and then removing the scar tissue. Those 4 things will help with any of the symptoms that you will have with endo. On top of putting in some magnesium in the body, because not only is that going to help to balance the hormones, but it helps with other things too, because when you suffer from endo, you also have all this leg pain and all these other things that magnesium helps, okay? You can also do something called silica. Silica sometimes is something that they put in a lot of the natural, supplements as a filler. It's really, really great for your joints. I mean, it's good for a lot of other things. It's good for your immune system. It's good for all these other things. But in terms of endo, the joints are usually something, especially the knees, the legs, the ankles, around the pelvis, hip area, those are definitely areas that women would suffer from in terms of pain and discomfort. So magnesium is going to help. If we do all of these things, you realize your symptoms are so much better. And then when it's time to get pregnant, it's so much easier. Now, what I will say is, let's say you do all of this. Your endo goes down or it lessens. You move from a stage 3 to a stage 1, or from a stage 4 to a stage 0 of endo. Fabulous, great. And you get pregnant. And you're excited and you're glad, and you go through your pregnancy. Once the pregnancy is over, it's very, very important to get back on whatever treatment you are doing. The reason why is because your estrogen level rises when you're pregnant. So if you were suffering from endo and you became pregnant, by the time you have that baby, your estrogen level is hair. Which means that now you're going to be suffering again. So I would suggest to go back on the treatment that you were on so that you can lessen those symptoms, because now you have a baby that you got to take care of. Now, you know, as they say, it's not about you, but it still has to be about you, because without you, I mean, what is baby gonna do? So please don't forget that as an endo survivor, that you definitely need to make sure that you go back to treatment once you have a baby. Next week and the following weeks, we're going to talk about different movement that we can do for endo. We're going to talk about different positions sexually that you can do. We're going to talk about all those different things. But the one thing that I do want to talk about just slightly is doing some vaginal steams before sex. If you suffer from endo, or if you just have, or just penetration in itself is painful, I suggest doing a vaginal steam before sex. Sometimes it's not as convenient, but I promise you, if you go and do a vaginal steam and then have sex, it's going to be better for you, and it's going to be better for your significant other, because they can enjoy themselves. They don't have to be stressed about how stressed you are. And on top of that as well, you can enjoy it, because what's the point of having sex if everybody's not enjoying it? So a vaginal steam would be amazing. When I say vaginal steam, I do not mean getting some vinegar and pouring it in some boiling water in a plastic pan and sitting over it, ladies. Okay, that is crosses. Please don't do that. We have 2 different types of vaginal steam blends here at Cosmic Woman. The female nourisher will work just fine, or if you want the postpartum, you can do that as well. Either one will work. There are times when I recommend the postpartum blend more for my endo clients, just because there's a lot more things in it that's relaxing. Because of course, after you've had a baby, everything is swollen, everything hurts. And so there's a lot more lavender, there's a lot more chamomile, there's a lot more things that kind of like take away the inflammation. So you could probably do the postpartum blend of the vaginal steam. Do we have any questions before I continue to run off my mouth about endometriosis and how fucking horrible it is? Q?
Somebody was asking about ear infections and if ginger is good for ear infections.
Okay, well, ginger is good for everything. I mean, in terms of ear infection, what are you gonna do? Take the ginger, put it in your ear? No, I don't like that idea. Eating the ginger, yeah, that can help, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend ginger for an ear infection. If it is any kind of infection, you want to use things like oregano. You want to use things like melaleuca. Melaleuca is like tea tree. It's the same thing. It's just a different name. Tea tree would be great as well for an ear infection. I wouldn't necessarily recommend ginger for that, but I would recommend have ginger so that the digestive system can be healthier. And of course, if your digestive system is healthy, the rest of your systems can also become healthy, because everything starts in the gut.
Does boric acid help with PID?
Okay, so pelvic inflammatory disease is something that a lot suffer from that, and they don't even know. And that is also a very painful condition. Boric acid, I do not recommend for any condition that you could have, unless you're trying to kill a rat, pretty much. And the rat that is not in your body. Okay, boric acid is in rat poison. It is not something that I consider healthy. They do have food grade boric acid, but I'm just not a big fan. So I know a lot of people will do boric acid for yeast infections, for bacterial vaginosis, for blocked tubes. I do not recommend it at all for any condition that you have. If you suffer from PID, massage is great. You're going to want to, massage is everything for you. The circulatory system is everything for you. You have got to make sure that your circulatory system is healthy. So you're doing everything to make sure that it is healthy. Make sure you're exercising. That helps with circulatory system. Make sure you're massaging your pelvis on a daily basis, twice a day for PID.
What would you take to boost estrogen for someone who has a period every month?
Okay, if you have a period every month, you want to have a period every month.
That's when I'm just reading.
If you're not having a period, probably is what she means.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're not having a period every month, then yes, you definitely want to get more estrogen in your body. Estrogen, there are certain things like red maca. No. Yes. Red maca is great for bringing on a period or for regulating a period. Red clover would be great as well. Red raspberry would be good as well. There are some women that they need something stronger. So I would recommend like black cohosh and Dan Quai, mugwort. Mugwort is extremely good as well. So maybe making a blend of those things. So we have actually something called Hello Period, and it has all those herbs in there that help to bring down the period. Bringing down the period is one aspect, but please, we have to make sure that we're doing something about the reason why the period is not coming. Balancing the hormones. We have to look in our foods, the diet. We have to look into whatever else that we're putting in our bodies. As I told you before, exercise is going to be important. Having proper vitamins and minerals in your body is going to be important. These things help to balance the hormones. And you're going to need to balance the hormones for sure to make sure that the period is regulated and comes every month.
Okay, my doctor gave me some birth control pills. I've been feeling less pain, but I stopped to do a detox and the pain was worse than before. The doctor says that the pills help to stop any new developments. Should I continue?
Okay, so
it's a big one.
Birth control does not heal the problem. It masks the problem. So when you stop doing it, the problem never went away. It was just masked. So now when you stop taking it, it comes back with a vengeance. Or you feel it more. Not that it went away anywhere, but you feel it more. So do I suggest that you use birth control to fix your period pains? Not really. Because I find that when we use birth control to fix our period or to balance our hormones, we end up with some other issue. Because there are all these side effects that come with it. So unless you're planning to be on birth control for the rest of your life, which I do not suggest, because of course that is going to cause other types of issues, I would suggest not necessarily using birth control to fix it, to fix the pain. You need to get to the root of the problem. And the root of the problem, if you have period pains, is most likely your uterus. Not all the time, but I would say 70% of the time it's because the uterus is not at its healthiest state. If we get the uterus at the healthy state, you find that the period doesn't hurt as much. Which is why some women, they have horrible periods, they just want to die. They get pregnant, they have their baby. After they have their baby and they get their period again, all of a sudden their period pain isn't that bad. It's not because they went through birth and now because they went through that their period isn't as bad. It's because the uterus now is a little healthier because it knows what to do. It has done the job of what it's there for. And so now it's just in a better place. It's more comfortable. It's happier. So I don't necessarily recommend birth control for that.
Okay. What happens if you have reoccurring yeast infections? What can you do?
Okay, so if you're someone that suffers from yeast infections once a year, that's one thing. If you suffer from yeast infections every other month, or right before your period, or right after your period, then we know that there's definitely a real issue. And that issue is your gut. And it's also probably your blood. Your blood is not healthy. It's not clean. Throwing off your pH. Your gut is not healthy. It's throwing off your pH. So I would suggest doing a cleanse. And your cleanses, because sometimes a cleanse cleans too much, where it's cleaning even the good things that we want.
We have our cleanses.
We definitely have cleanses here. And cleanses that, we have cleanses that remove the dried waste that has been on your colon and on your intestines since you are probably 7 years old and your ass is 40. Okay? So cleaning is extremely important. Then we want to make sure that the pH itself is better. So I recommend, for some women, vaginal steaming works. They can do it once and that's fine. But if it's something that it's a condition where every month or every other month you suffer from something like this, vaginal steaming is not going to help that. You're going to want to do maybe like a silver treatment. We have something called a silver treatment here at Cosmic Woman, which is an insert and a douche. I know somebody's probably going to say, but I heard douching is not good. Douching is not good if you're not douching with the right thing. Douching is not good if you're getting up every day and douching. Okay? Everything has to be balanced. You can't overdo anything. The silver treatment is literally a liquid silver. It is a colloidal silver that is 500 ppms. If you go in the pharmacy and find colloidal silver, it's not going to work. You have got to make sure it is at least 500 ppms. It is strong enough to get to heal and balance that pH. And then you would do that for 5 days, every morning, every night. And by the third day, the second day, you're going to realize that your symptoms are gone. But I still suggest doing it for the 5 days. No sex, no fingering, no oral, none of that. Leave all that sexual activity alone, okay, for the 5 days.
Okay. The person who was talking about the yeast infection, no, not the yeast infection, the period every month, she said that she does have her period every month, but she can't tell her ovulation cycle.
Okay, ovulation is a whole nother thing, okay? So every woman is different. You have some women, or what you want to say the norm, that would ovulate 12 to 18 days after their period. I ovulate 5 to 6 days after my period. So I do not fall into that category. So you need to find out when it is that you personally ovulate. If you do not know, then there are certain things you need to check. You need to check your underwear. You need to see, okay, am I having this discharge? When am I having it? I'd suggest getting a period tracker. When you start seeing this discharge, you put it in your phone. Discharge is happening here. I think this is ovulation here. For some women, they can feel it. They can feel the cramping, the turning, the twisting of what's happening in the ovaries. For me, it feels more like a wheel is turning. And I feel it like on one side, and then I feel it like on the other side. And then maybe later on in the day, I feel it on both sides. You ovulate usually anywhere between 4 to 6 days a woman will ovulate. Of course, there are 2 days that they are more fertile than the other days. But you can tell from that movement that you would feel as well. If you are not having the movement, and if you're a woman that has discharge on a regular basis, there are some women that discharge every day. So discharge is not going to help them to figure out if they're ovulating. Then I would suggest getting an ovulation kit and pissing on that thing each week so you can figure it out. If you realize that ovulation is not happening, then there are certain things that I would suggest. Vitamin C is great. I would also suggest evening primrose. Definitely some female vitamins. Those things will definitely help to help with ovulation. If you're not ovulating, pregnancy will not happen.
Okay. What do you do if you're diagnosed with PCOS?
Okay, so PCOS is high estrogen again. Okay, so it's all about lowering your estrogen level. PCOS is small cysts around the ovaries. For some women it's one, for some women it's both. So we want to make sure that the cysts, we remove the cysts so that the ovaries can work. Because if you suffer from PCOS, most times, not all the time, but most times, you're not ovulating because the ovaries can't do what it needs to do because it has all these damn cysts around it. And that's the majority, sometimes not. Another reason why ovulation can also be an issue with PCOS is because some women who have PCOS, their testosterone is higher than it should. So let's say, for example, you should have 10% testosterone. Some women that suffer from PCOS have 50%. They find that hair is growing on their chin, hair is growing on their chest, hair is growing on their nipples. In that situation, we definitely want to make sure that the testosterone level lowers, the estrogen level lowers, and most times the progesterone level is low, so we want to raise it. So it's important to make sure that the ovaries in itself are extremely healthy. So to feed the ovaries, we're going to do things like vitamin C. We're going to do things like evening primrose. We're going to have a proper plant-based vitamin in your body on a daily basis. You want to cut out all dairy. All dairy. Okay? Because dairy has way too much estrogen. Chicken has way too much estrogen. You can't eat that if you have PCOS. Okay? You go to a restaurant to order chicken, I'm telling you, that chicken is not the chicken that don't have the hormones. That chicken have the hormones because it's the cheaper version of the chicken. And no restaurant is buying the most expensive chicken to come and sell to you. Okay? So look into that. Speaking about foods, let me just go back a little bit to endo. There are certain foods that an endometriosis survivor cannot eat. Of course, because endo is a estrogen-driven condition, dairy is a no-no. Chicken is going to be a no-no. Beef is going to be a no-no. The digestive system, no-no. So liver and kidney and pork and all those things are going to be a no-no. You also want to make sure that you come off of gluten. Does everybody know what gluten is? Because I don't think a lot of people really have an understanding of gluten. Gluten is in anything that is white in terms of carbs. So rice, bread, pasta, flour. Those things have crazy gluten, and even wheat. If you suffer from endometriosis, wheat is not your friend. Don't eat it. Don't touch it. Don't even look at it. It is not your friend. You have to come away from those things. Gluten is not your friend. Dairy is not your friend. Chicken is not your friend. Pork is not your friend. And pork is not your friend not because of hormonal issues. Pork is not your friend because it takes almost 90 days to digest and to come out of your blood. That's insane. One piece of pork, I mean, don't get me wrong, pork tastes really, really, really good, right? But to have it every week, your digestive system is stressed and not happy with you. So those are definitely things that we would want to remove from our diet if you suffer from endo. 100%. Any other questions there, Q?
Yeah, man, a whole heap of questions. Alright, we're just going to run through them as quickly as we can. Based on the PCOS, they're asking if apple cider vinegar is good for it.
Apple cider vinegar is an organic apple cider vinegar is good for detoxing the body. So you can definitely try that. For some people, it's a little too acidic. So I don't necessarily recommend it, to be honest with you. I'm not knocking it. I get it. I understand why someone would try it. But if I had PCOS, I wouldn't be drinking apple cider vinegar every day.
Good night. I want to ask you a question. When you have an infection in the tube and you keep trying to have a child and nothing is happening over the years, where can I find your location?
Okay, so if you're in Jamaica, we're at Argyle Road, 10 Argyle Road. That is in New Kingston, so that's Kingston 5. If you suffer from this condition or any other condition when it comes to the tubes or anything else reproductive, we can also do phone consultations. You don't necessarily have to come in. Sometimes it's just not convenient. It doesn't make any sense waiting to come in, just to come in. Or I live in America, but I'm coming to Jamaica in 6 months. I want to come in and see you. I don't recommend that. If you have an issue, let's get to the issue. Let's focus on it. Let's deal with it. Let's treat it. Let's heal it as quickly as we can without waiting. Waiting is only going to make the condition worse. So I would definitely recommend you coming in to see me or doing a consultation. If you have an infection in your tubes or anywhere else, the infection will go nowhere but get worse as time goes on. So you definitely want to do something about that.
What if you haven't seen your period for a while, but you're not pregnant and you get spotting?
Okay, so the hormones aren't as balanced as they need to be. It's a good thing that you're spotting instead of not having anything at all, but but it's still not enough. It's still not enough for just the spotting. So I would definitely recommend DMing us, calling us, WhatsApping us, so that we can get that period to come down and do that in a natural, holistic way.
Nature_BFF7, she says that she doesn't have painful periods. I'm sorry, she wasn't clear if she has been diagnosed with endo, and it is puzzling as to why there is no cure if she normalizes her hormones to pre-endo life. I don't really understand if it was a question or she was making a statement, but pretty much she's saying that she don't have painful periods and she was diagnosed with endo and she's not sure.
Okay, so to really be diagnosed with endo, you have to do a laparoscopy, okay? And when they usually go in, they don't usually go in and then come back out. If they go in and they find endo, they're going to clean out as much of the scar tissue as they can. Once they do that, you're going to realize that your periods are better. If you suffer from endo and don't have painful periods, you don't usually find that at all. At all. Like, I've never heard someone that has endo and doesn't suffer. Now, it could be that your endo is maybe a stage 1 or a stage 0, and if so, great. If that's the case, then just make sure that you're keeping the hormones balanced, you're eating the way you should, and then you should not necessarily have painful periods, because as much as you might have endo, it is at such a low stage that it is not physically affecting you, which is a good thing.
Is a simple ovarian cyst and small fibroids dangerous?
Dangerous like you can die from it? No. Dangerous in terms of it can grow bigger and you can get more and it can cause uncomfortableness or infertility or any of those other things? Yes.
Okay. I don't see any more questions right now.
Okay. So just to go back really quickly, for endometriosis, it's extremely important for us to do certain things and for us to not do certain things. Endo is definitely driven by estrogen, so anything that has estrogen, we want to remove it, especially if it's fake estrogen. Okay, we want to remove that out of the body. We want to detox the body. The more that we can do that is the more that we can create healthy circulation and we can balance the hormones. Sometimes hormones are unbalanced just because of waste. You're not going to the bathroom enough. Your body, your blood, your cells are holding on to toxins, and that can also throw off your hormones. So you want to look at that. You also want to look at the scar tissue that's being caused and make sure that you're softening that scar tissue, making sure that not only are we softening the scar tissue, but we are also removing the scar tissue from the body. If you do anything like a laparoscopy or anything else, remember also endo will come back, fibroids will come back, all these things will come back because you've just cut it out. You have not changed the environment. It's important to make sure that we're changing the environment so that these conditions don't come back. Someone is asking, Forever Me Sanders is asking suggestions for premenopausal period pain and excessive bleeding. Okay, so premenopausal, usually what happens is you start to bleed even more than you used to bleed when you were 20, more than you were when you were 30. If your body is deficient of vitamins and minerals, your premenopausal and menopausal phase is going to be horrible. Not only are you going to have excessive bleeding, but you're also going to get hot flashes. You're going to be miserable as fuck. So, making sure that your hormones are balanced, using many different things. You can use cleansing, you can use hormonal balancing, like for example, like vitamins and minerals. Magnesium is huge for premenopausal. Huge. Also remember the types of pads that you're using that can definitely throw things off too or make you bleed more. So look into that to make sure that they are natural pads that don't have the bleach and the pesticides and the plastic and all those other things. But for premenopausal, deficiencies is huge. So making sure that there's a lot of iron in the body, especially if you're bleeding a lot, you gotta put that iron back. You gotta do that. You want a plant-based iron, you don't want an iron from the pharmacy. That is only going to make you constipated, which is going to create a whole nother issue. So making sure you have enough iron, making sure you have enough magnesium, those two things are really important. Castor oil treatments are going to be great. Clay treatments are going to be good as well. Female vitamins are going to be good as well. So making sure that we're balancing the hormones going to be everything for a woman, no matter what reproductive issue that she has. It could be premenopausal, it could be fibroids, it could be cysts, it could be endometriosis, it could be adenomyosis, it could be anything. The whole point is to balance the hormones. The more the hormones are balanced, the more you don't have a damn problem.
If I spot 2 days before my period and for a week after, how can I correct that and what may be the cause?
Okay, if you spot, oh, they're counting me down. Okay, so send me a DM about anything else that's going on. I'm sorry I can't look at any more of the questions. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please know that if you need any questions answered, if you have any suggestions for Cosmic Woman, we're always interested, we're always open. Thank you very much for tuning in, guys. I really appreciate it. Love and light.